Welcome everybody to the match of the round from Division 2 between Chris Sandman and Bryan Scholl. Bryan at the top of the screen, Chris at the bottom. This is featuring new cards as well. You can see the points. This game speed, by the way, I believe is edited by Chris. So it looks like it's Golgari up against straight up Dima control. 54 and 48 points. This is a must-win game. Must-win games for Chris to stay in contact. Bryan is still trying to secure a top spot here. As we see a Thought Erasure. Sorry. Merfolk Branchwalker. So it's the two Merfolks, the Jade Light Ranger and the Merfolk Branchwalker from Abzan, doing the business at the moment. Chris down to 14, so he's going to need to get something going. You can see he's got a Vraska's Contempt, but he doesn't have the second Black Source. He might have been forced to use the Field of Ruin there to get it, but he's found it from one of the new cards, which has Jumpstart. Oh, Eldest Reborn will take down one of these if he wants. So he's got two choices here: Vraska's Contempt or Eldest Reborn. He's going to go for the Eldest Reborn. So one creature has to die. Next turn will be a discard. But if there's any creature here, I think he's just dead. Yeah, no, he's going to gain 2 life from a Vraska's Contempt. So Chris just hanging on barely at the moment. I think he can't afford it. He needs some sort of cheap removal. So he's got to hold on for this next turn, and then he's going to get a creature back from the Eldest Reborn. Jade Light Ranger is going to go down to Vraska's Contempt here to buy him a turn. They'll put him to 5. He'll drop to 1. I'll drop to 2. Sorry. So Golgari Finebroker is going to get something back. I'm not sure just what that is just yet. So he's still dead on board. He's going to find a Doom Whisperer or a Khan. I think it's going to be the Doom Whisperer. Yep. So here he needs to Vraska's Contempt, and he's going to get something back from the search from the Eldest Reborn. Sorry. He'll get a Merfolk Branchwalker, so he's going to get an Explore trigger. He is still dead if Bryan has any sort of removal on the other side. So what he's done here, he's gone for the Doom Whisperer rather than the life gain from Vraska's Contempt. So he's left himself open to a removal spell. We'll see if there is one. There is, and so this is one of the new cards. Plague Crafter makes you sacrifice a creature. So we're going to go to game 2. Game 1 goes to Bryan. This is a pretty good card. It's like a Merciless Executioner, but it can also target Planeswalker. So it's sacrifice creature or Planeswalker. And if you can't do either, then they have to discard a card. So it's actually much better than the Merciless Executioner. There's 2 of them, Merciless Executioner, and I forget the other card, but they're both identical. They do the same thing. So the beatdown start early. We saw this in the... Here's a play. So here we go. Playcrafter. There's nothing to remove, so he's going to have to discard a card. I probably would have kept that for a turn, although he didn't see Khan in the first game, so he doesn't know that that Chris is actually holding a Khan. Gonna put Khan down to 2. Yeah, this funny kind of layout is from Chris. He recorded this. It's his hand that we're looking at. I'm not sure why he's got this big, huge, chunky preview screen on the side. And by the way, Chris is one of our Patreon contributors, so a shout out and thank you for that as well. And also the other thing I mentioned, that little graphic that you see at the start of each of our videos was Chris's work. You can see he's brought in Phyrexian Scriptures. It's probably coming from the side. Here it is here. It's probably coming from the sideboard. So it's a kind of a very slow removal board wipe. But this is bad news. Vraska's Contempt. And look at his mana. He's 1 short from being able to cast it Disdainful Stroke. So Vraska's is going to be big trouble here. He's got all the counter spells now, but too late to use them. I think if Bryan is victorious, he's going to play Duress here. What's this going to take? It's going to get the Surveil. So he plays Sinister Sabotage so he can get a Surveil, because he's pretty desperate, I think, to find answers, particularly for Vraska. If Bryan wins today, I think Chris at best is looking at a wildcard spot. Next week is interleague play, so he'll play somebody from Division 1. Ritual of Soot has come in. He saw all those cheap merfolk in the first game, so probably decent targets there. So here's Chemist's Insight. This is the card we saw in the first. Draw 2, and I think I would have anticipated there rather than cast down, because he needs to answer that Vraska very quickly. Yeah, Chemist's Insight has Jumpstart, so it's draw 2 cards, and later on you can also Jumpstart again to draw 2 more. Here's a Doom Whisperer, so he's going to be tapped out for this though, and Vraska can take care of it. Vraska's on 7 loyalty at the moment, so he has plenty of loyalty. We know that because he just hovered over, although this Playcraft is going to do the job as well. There's a Vraska's Contempt, so he's found the answer for Vraska, but there's still 4 power on the board, so Chris is going down to 7 here. He's actually lethal on board next turn. 3 is 6, that's 9. Vraska's Contempt will only put him to 9, so it's not going to be good enough. He's 1 mana short. If he had another mana, he could actually Ritual of Soot and Vraska's Contempt. I think he's got a Ritual of Soot, yeah, otherwise he's dead. But again, he's in the same position. He needs to counter something here, so he's got an Essence Scatter. He's going to be forced to use that. If there's a follow-up, which there is, that's game. So Bryan takes standard 2 games to 0. Pretty aggressive Golgari deck gets the job done. And we're on to Modern, where it's Black-White Eldrazi. He's been playing this for a few weeks. Forest into Search for Tomorrow, so it looks like it's Primeval Titan, Titan Shift deck. Well, I shouldn't say Titan Shift, it's some sort of shift, Scape Shift or Titan Shift. We're going to get a good look now, thanks to Tide Hollow. So Summoner's Pact gives it away, he's on Titan Shift. He's actually going to be able to go off next turn. And you can see, you look at Chris's hand, he's got nothing to answer this for. So he's going to play the Summoner's Pact now. There it is there. Find a Primeval Titan and get 2 more lands, which will be Valakuts probably. And you look at Chris's hand, there's no answers there for that Primeval Titan, so it's going to be 6-12 damage next turn. And Wasteland Strangler doesn't do much because unfortunately the Titan has Trample. So here we go, he's going to find 2 more mountains, and this is going to be a pretty quick game 1. Well, he found a Valakut, yeah. So a thrashing in game 1 in Modern. See what he's bought in here. Oh, Leyline of Sanctity is a good one. That's excellent in starting hand, so that shuts off Valakut. We'll see if Bryan bought in Nature's Claim to deal with that. I think if he's a seasoned Valakut player, he'll know to bring in Nature's Claim. And you can see the Surgical Extraction. Kambal Console of Elocution is so-so. I think it would have been a borderline call to bring that one in. But yeah, Leyline is a really good draw. Particularly you can see here, Bryan has not found... He's not found the Nature's Claim to deal with that Leyline. The only issue that we see here is he's got that Surgical Extraction, but I don't know what he hopes to get with it, because his removal is Path to Exile, and even in... we didn't... oh, okay, Reclamation Sage as well, so Leyline down and Protection gone. 2, 4, 6. He's gone. Summoner's Pact. I think this one's over again. So that's 2. Format's down, and Bryan has taken both. Is going to take both 2 games to 0. Well, he didn't go for the. No, I was premature. He didn't go for the Velikuts. He's got 1, 2. He's got the 6 mountains that you need for it now. But next turn he's got to pay for the pact. So. Oh, okay, or he can scape shift. That's another way to do it as well. And Chris is at the magic number of 18. That's what scape shift wins at. And so he's got Titan, Primeval Titan and scape shift. So you can see he's going to sack them all. In comes Velikuts with 6 mountains, and that's 0 damage. So we're onto legacy very quickly here. Well, this is a slaughter. Chris needed a convincing victory to shoot for the top 2, and he's lost both modern and standard 2 games to 0, so his chances are gone. On the other side of the table, Bryan Scholl. Bryan, I think, played in 2 or 3 grand finals last season, is putting himself in a very good position here. I missed something there. A tapped volcano. Yeah, what's going on? A tapped volcanic island. This deck that Chris plays, I've seen it a few times, Pernicious Deed, but I'm not that familiar with it to really comment on it. On the other side of the table, it's either a Delver variation or a show and tell. We can't really tell just yet. You see, Abrupt Decay there is interesting because with Assassin's Trophy being printed, so he's brainstorming, it still doesn't give away the deck. Although if this was a Delver deck, they normally have a threat earlier. City of Traders gives it away. He's on show and tell, or sneak and show. Sorry, because the red for sneak attack. We've seen a fair bit. Dylan Magic in Division 1 is featured in quite a lot of matches. There's sneak attack. He plays blue black, so Omni show. So you can see he's got the sneak attack resolved, and he's got the 1 mountain open. As we look at, Chris has the answer, Caracas, but it's tapped. Oh, excuse me. Still recovering from my jet lag, and I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning. A second Veterans Explorer. So if there is a board wipe, well, there it is right there, Emrakul. He's going to be able to recover with some mana, and you can see he's going to drop to 3 from the Emrakul damage. He's just having a read of what this does. Annihilator 6 is probably the two key things there are Annihilator 6 and that's all, because and haste, sorry, Annihilator 6 and haste, so he's taking a hit here. You can see spells cast take an extra turn after this one, but these show and tell decks obviously never cast Emrakul. They cheated in. That's the whole point of the deck. So he's not dead yet because he's got he's going to get lands from these veteran explorers. The problem that Chris has here though is that Emrakul, I believe, goes back to hand, so he can just sneak it back in again next turn. And Abrupt Decay only removes 3 mana cost or less, so he doesn't have an answer for that sneak attack. So he's top decking here, dead on board if he doesn't find the answer. Oh, there's a Grizzlebrand, so he's pretty much done done now anyway. We're on to game 2. And Bryan 1 win away from a perfect 2-0 sweep. And looking back, it's a very... I mean, we've only been going for 15 minutes, 2 formats down, 2.5 formats down. It's not like Chris has played particularly badly. It's... I mean, standard, there's probably a few decisions to be made. I'm not saying he made the wrong ones, but it's just he just hasn't had the answers to line up with what he's up against. Dragon Lord, Dramoka, and Legacy. I think I make that comment every time I see him play Legacy and the Dragon Lord appears. And also Siege Rhino. I think Chris's games are the only times that I ever see Siege Rhino in Legacy. He occasionally pops up in Abzan lists in Modern. I'm not sure what the delay is here. Yeah, it looks like there's some sort of edit there. That all this editing was done by Chris before he sent it to me, so I'm guessing something happened and he's cut a part out here. Here's Through the Breach, so he's going to cheat something in here. If it's... Well, Grizzlebrand can be answered. He's got the Swords to Plowshares in hand. Bryan cannot actually activate Grizzlebrand because if... Oh no, he can, sorry. Because he's going to get the life from the Swords to Plowshares, so he's going to draw 7 cards. Go back down to 12. There's 4, 6, 7, 8 damage on board, so he'd want to find the win con in those 7 cards. Again, an edit skip and a sneak attack appears. So I don't know what happened to the Swords to Plowshares. My guess is that there was a counter spell there. You can see Bryan have 14 cards in hand. He's probably just assembling the required pieces to win now. Siege Rhino, and that is it. Bryan actually gets the clean sweep, 12 points to 0.